Wait. So you're gonna have multiple internets?
I'm gonna have multiple internets for like
a
day or two.
His Mech Warrior ping is gonna be amazing.
Welcome to Egghead Anarchy. This is episode 24. It is the final episode of our 4-part series covering St. Louis game development and the St. Louis Game Dev Duel 2016. I am Bryan.
And I am Bryan.
There are two of me today, ladies and gentlemen. You can reach one of me at BSG Bryan on Twitter, and you can reach the other one at Senior Dongato on Twitter, but they're both me. I'm spreading throughout the universe like a plague, like a virus.
Yes.
Sorry, take it over, other Bryan.
Exactly. Have you seen the Matrix? That's a documentary about this actually happening.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I had to sign so many waivers for that, and I forced them to change my name to Dr. Smith or Agent Smith because I didn't want to be right. Fuck, I'm totally destroying this now. Now you all know it was me. Damn it. Well, okay, don't do anything. Okay, don't try to defeat the Matrix. You can't do it anyway. Neo tried. He couldn't do it. He had to sacrifice himself, and the machine still won, so don't bother trying. Okay, so as part of your complicity, whatever, let's listen to the rest of the episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm Alex also. Just in case you were confused and you haven't watched the previous episodes.
Oh, that's right, because you weren't here for the last one. I didn't even realize that's what you were doing. That's hilarious. Yes, so in the last episode, Alex was off gallivanting around the globe, having some much-needed time off. So I took over as the single host for the week and did an interview with Bunny Gun Studios. This week, Alex is back, so he was joking that he is also me. I didn't even get that because I'm so self-obsessed, but that was the joke. It was a good joke. So yes, it's good to have Alex back, to have somebody to bring me in, because as you will see later in the show, when I'm actually talking, unlike in an interview, I tend to go all over the place and need somebody to rein me in and somebody to correct me when I'm wrong, because that frequently happens a lot. So
let's do this.
Yes. So, really quick. So we have an interview with Ben Cook, who is a local St. Louis developer. He has a game that just recently got greenlit on Steam called Last Stitch Goodnight. He's still working on developing that. His story is actually really cool. The game's been in development for about 5 years now. We interview him, and we have some technical difficulties, so it kind of falls back on me.
So I'm there for about the first half of the interview.
Yeah, probably.
And then I'm out again because we had technical difficulties and it didn't work out. So they had to finish without me. So
and you guys will actually love this. I know you will, because you love the show so much. We're actually going to give you guys a free bonus episode on Thursday, probably.
We're basically the Daily Show now. We're just putting extra stuff up
there for you. Go. That's right, because we love you guys so much. Yes. So without further ado, because this intro is way too fucking long as it is, let's actually get on to the rest of the episode, and we will see you guys in a little bit. All right, hello. Welcome to the interview section of our episode. Today, we're going to be talking to Ben Cook.
Hey, guys.
Blah, 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 blah. Bio there.
I make video games that are fun, too.
This is where we edited something in. Or Bryan left this part in, because I bet he did.
Sometimes I do that.
That's the best case scenario.
So now that we're done with the bio stuff, we've read the bio. It was brilliant and wonderful, and I'm sure read by somebody who has PhD and is just amazingly handsome. Anyway, so Ben, tell us about you and your studio and how you got started, and this game that you have that's been greenlit called Last Stitch Goodnight. What is that? Tell us about that.
So yeah, I'm Well Bred Rhino, and it's a company that's existed for. I'm gonna fall back into bio mode, so maybe you'll have to cut this out too.
Or this could be the bio.
This is the bio.
We can have you read your own bio.
Chop up into this part. So I've been doing Well Bred Rhino for a few years now, and kind of the first major release I did was back on Xbox Live Indie Games. We kind of hit a point when Xbox released this thing called XNA, where everyone could make video games, and it was awesome, and you could make a game on your computer and put it on your 360, and that blew our minds. So I kind of started there. I made a game called All the Bad Parts. that had a story that I really enjoyed, but the combat wasn't quite there yet. So what I've been doing over the last few years is, kind of going back, reevaluating what I think good combat is in a game, what makes a good story in a game, how do you get these two things to be friends and not constantly battling each other. And I've got Last Stitch Goodnight, and I'm kind of putting the finishing touches on that now, and I'm hoping to get it out early next year.
Very nice. So how long have you been working on Last Stitch Goodnight as Last Stitch Goodnight?
Probably 4 or 5 years. It's getting on, but it's the type of thing, like my development process is like I'll make something and then I'll go on, I'll work on other stuff, and I'll come back to the first thing and I'm like, well, I learned enough. I can do this better. So I start like redoing parts that I've done in the past, but it's really helped it shape up in ways that I would have never expected. And I guess that's kind of the most exciting part of this is that like I'll do something and I'll do it as best as I can and I'll have a lot of ideas that go into it. But then when I revisit later, like I discovered things along the way that I'm like, oh, of course it makes sense for me to add XYZ. And it's kind of grown into its own little baby, which is fun.
So can you give us a little description of the game?
Sure. So yeah, it's a side-scrolling action adventure, and it kind of starts with you're in a hospital. You have a near-death out-of-body experience, but then you kind of find your way back home. But your doctor there is kidnapping people who meet that specific criteria. He's trying to find people who've had kind of that touch with death. And so he kidnaps you, he takes you back to his mansion for him to start doing experiments. So the game is you trying to get out of this mansion. You're not the first one who's been experimented on, so there's a lot of experiments you have to battle your way through. You have to find a whole bunch of new weapons to kind of survive. But then the other big thing I'm kind of pushing is I grew up playing a lot of adventure games like Monkey Island and stuff like that. And so I love the idea of having these verbs that you're doing as you're fighting your way through the mansion. So instead of just finding weapons, you're actually finding tools. And so you can use the tools to kind of, hit things over the head and make your way through it. But you can also use them to solve little puzzles as you go. Like one of the first things you find is a screwdriver. And the first thing you do is you dismantle a bed so that you can get a better weapon out of it. And the game is just all of that, fighting through these waves and waves of enemies, but also finding new weapons and new power-ups as you go.
That's awesome. So having worked in the game for 5 years, what is one thing that has changed like pretty dramatically, would you say, with your process or with the tools that you use? Because like Unity itself, I would imagine, has changed quite a bit over 5 years.
Yeah, so I'm using some of the older Unity tech for some of it, but one of the first things I started using was Spine for my animation, and so that's been constant. Probably the biggest thing that's changed is at Pixel Pop last year, like I was kind of demoing it off and I was getting some good feedback, but one of the things that I just really felt like I needed to address was the art. And so I went through and I redrew all of the characters in the game, and there's just tons of enemies and characters and people you have to talk to in the game. So I just decided I was going to redraw all of them. So for like a month and a half, I did nothing but redraw, and I started using Inkscape instead of Photoshop. And that just changed my whole work process. Inkscape is just a fantastic tool for drawing, and I really like how things have shaped up from that. So that's probably the biggest change, is my art has gotten a little bit more me, I think.
Very nice, very nice. So, what specifically with like Photoshop and Inkscape, what do you think is better, or what has affected your process in the difference between the two?
For whatever reason, whenever I do stuff with Photoshop, it just comes off to me like a little bit muddy, and that could be I just have garbage brushes or something. I'm not quite sure, but like I never really felt it had clean lines. And so when I moved over to Inkscape, then like I felt the art was starting to pop a little bit more. And I don't know, I was finding colors that like I forgot about, which is a weird thing to think about. But like even going through that tool, I was finding colors that I could match up together and really get excited about. Whereas in Photoshop, their color picking tool, I just felt like I was, I don't know, treading on a lot of the same browns. So that's not good.
And Inkscape is a vector art program.
Yes. Yeah.
So
that's the other cool thing.
Yeah. It's pretty different than Photoshop. And it does, those kind of programs produce those clean looks a lot more easily than Photoshop does.
Yeah, no joke.
Interesting.
And like even trying to draw stuff. I mean, like if you're using a mouse to draw in Photoshop, you're gonna have a bad time. But like even like I've got like a Wacom tablet, and there's a certain disconnect between how I draw and how it shows up on the screen. But I just don't have that in Inkscape because I'm like putting dots, and then I'm moving the dots around, and then I'm changing the curve of the dots, and it's just a lot friendlier for me. Nice. So I finally found the tool that made sense for me.
So, if I understand this correctly, Last Stitch Goodnight was recently greenlit on Steam.
It was. Correct? We're coming to PC officially.
Wait.
Very nice. Congratulations on that. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Oh, I imagine. So, what was the process like for that? Like, can you kind of walk us through what got you there, how you knew you were ready, what the process itself was like, and then like where you're planning to go next?
a lot of it was, and I know there's kind of that mixed line of how early do you start talking about your game. And for me, it was I was getting close to what I thought was the end of the core of the game. And then from here on out, I'm adding side missions and kind of fleshing it out and packing in a little bit more value. But I was kind of getting to the part that the end game was in sight. Like I had completed my vision. And once I had that done, then I knew like I could start sharing it a little bit more. I could start trying to get other people excited about it. Because, you know, I've been excited about it for 5 years running, but now I'm to the point that I can actually show it to people. There's a podcast in St. Louis, the video game show, and I remember like probably 3.5, 4 years ago, like I showed them some of the early art I had prepared, but it wasn't like a drawing. It wasn't like an in-game screenshot or anything like that. It was the character model all broken up into like 40 pieces. And like, here's an arm over here and a head over here. And it's like, it looks terrible. But like, if you make games, you kind of recognize, oh, that's how you put together a model. But I was so proud of it that I'm showing it to these guys and I'm like, look, I got the drawing part of the main character done. And looking back, they acted excited. But I know, like, looking back, like, this character is all messed up. He is in 13 pieces. What is going on? So, like, the Greenlight was kind of my point to say, all the pieces are together. I can show this to you, and it should make sense now, as opposed to just being an idea in my head.
Wow, that is wild. So I guess a couple questions. First, I'll say, how have you stayed motivated for 5 years?
It's I think a lot of game development and staying kind of in the trenches is just building it into your routine, and kind of, you know, every day you want to make the game, you want to work on the game. And I think it just snowballs too. So like when you start, you're like, I'm just going to draw this character. We'll see how it goes. We'll see where he ends up. And then, you know, after doing that every day for a week, you're like, oh, well, I was working on that character. I got this idea for this new character. And then you work on that for a week and then you're like, oh, I've got an idea for a room. And I think as long as you keep working on it on an almost daily basis, you can kind of build up that momentum. And now, like, you know, if I have time at night that I could watch TV or I could go play something, or, you know, I've been meaning to work on this room. And it's just so easy for me now to fall back into, you know, working on Last Stitch Goodnight.
That's awesome. So it sounds like maybe part of it is routine.
Routine,
right?
yo,
like,
100%. Yeah, no,
that's
I would
awesome.
say that.
Yeah, that's one of the things. So this game jam that we're doing, the slow jam that we're doing this month, which is kind of what this whole month for our podcast is about. Like we're kind of focusing on St. Louis game developers and the St. Louis Game Dev Co-op. One of the things that I like a lot about it is it has achievements, right? Mm-hmm. So every week they have a new list of achievements. The last list of achievements just came out a few days ago. And what's really good about that, at least for me, because I've tried working on games multiple times, and I don't know, honestly, how in the hell I would last 5 years like working on a single game. That is incredible to me that you can do that. Like, that is just amazing. One of the problems that I've always had is kind of like where to start, what to do. And just in development in general, I know that it's really good to break things down into like very small tasks for a lot of reasons, but I've never been able to do that in games, like working on a game. And one of the things that I like about the Slow Jam this month is what these achievements do is they break things down into very small pieces that I can then do pretty quick, like within a day or two maybe, get it done and move on to something else. And if I'm hearing what you're saying correctly, that's kind of what you do as well, like to stay motivated and to keep going, right? Yeah, so you do something you can get done, you get it done, you move on to the next thing and just keep doing that over and over and over again. Is that correct?
The worst thing you could ever do is sit down and be like, I don't know what I'm going to work on today, because then you spend like an hour just kind of futzing around trying to find something you could do. But as long as you're like, listen, I'm not going to worry about the big picture. I just know that if I want this to work, I need to get one dude drawn. And so, you know, it's something to start on. And then, okay, what's the next thing? Well, I got a guy drawn. He needs to live in a world. So then you start working on, you know, one room. And I think, just breaking up into those little pieces and not even worrying about step 8, 9, 10, but just like, you know, I need step 2. What's step 2? Or what's anything I can work on? Because anytime you work on anything, you're going to get some value out of it. And it might not necessarily be the most important thing, but you know, you're making progress and it keeps that momentum flowing. So you're doing the slow jam. How's that going for you guys?
So it's going pretty good. So I'm like working by myself. Like I've tried working with people before, and like I just want to get one game done myself. Like to like prove that I can do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I like learning things. So I like learning. You know, I've been learning a little bit about modeling. Like the next thing that I want to work on is in the game is procedural music. Oh, nice. So yeah. So I want to learn like how to do that, like learn about actual chord structures and things like that. I won't get that done by Monday, but that's like the next big thing for the game. What I want to have in place for Monday is some sort of procedural music that is tied to gameplay. So, you know, dynamic changing with the game stuff. I'm hoping to get that in place for the demo by Monday. And then like the whole game is procedural, which is really nice because that means like everything is done in code, which is what I'm familiar with. Like that's what I know really well.
That's your home.
And
That's where you live.
it makes things very easy to break down into small chunks so that I can kind of do one thing, get it done.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I worked by myself on Last Stitch Goodnight up to this point, and it's part terrifying and part super empowering because, you know, like if something got to get done, you really can't lean on someone else to do it. You're like, well, I have to learn how to do X, Y, Z. And when you start realizing, oh, I can solve all of my own problems, it's super fantastic. And you're like, I can do anything. Global domination is like this close. So it's fun to do. But like you mentioned music is that one thing I just can't do at all. Like, because even like art to some degree and code to some degree, I can kind of see how the numbers line up. I can understand how they look good together. But like music is just something I just can't even begin to wrap my brain around. To the point that like I would try to figure out how to do something, and I would like, okay, I made a song, and I'd play it back, and it would just be garbage, and I'm just like, I don't understand why it's so bad. So yeah, if you can pull off procedural music, that is fantastic. I'm gonna be super jealous.
Well, yeah, and part of my logic with procedural music was like I've produced or made, I guess, a couple of albums before, like years and years and years ago, just with GarageBand.
You have to send me those.
You say that partly because you haven't heard them.
This is recorded on a podcast. This is binding now.
Oh, damn it! You're right. Okay.
The world knows now. Now you have to put it out.
You twisted my arm.
This is going to be the intro song to this episode as you jamming.
So I've actually considered that, but then I went back and listened to the music, and I'm like, this does not work. So it's not that it's bad. I'm actually kind of proud of the music. Like I think most of it holds up pretty well because like I seriously, especially my old stuff was from like 20 years ago. Like I made this stuff when I was really, really young, and it's kind of cool because it's kind of nostalgic. I use these series of programs called EJ. There was like dance EJ, hip hop EJ, whatever, and they were basically precursors to GarageBand. Okay. And it made making music just super simple. Like I like to call it making music using Lego blocks.
Oh, because it was that is so appealing to me. Like that visual.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was music. So much fun. It was just loops. You know what I mean? Like put loops here, do this stuff, put them together, and it sounds really good. And it was a lot of fun. And then Apple brings GarageBand out, and GarageBand is the same thing as these EJ things, just more advanced. And so I made probably like, I don't know, 1.5 albums worth of music in GarageBand. And they're actually all up on Spotify, which I can provide a link in the show notes in Spotify. But like it's a lot of fun. But like I don't, kind of like what you were saying, I don't really have any way to know if my music is good or not. You know what I mean? Like I don't, like especially technically, I don't know if it's well constructed or not. Yeah. But what I can do is just like with the procedural levels and the way that the game is being built, I can take little pieces of music and tie it to gameplay. And if the gameplay is set up well, my assumption is that the music will flow well as well. And so that's kind of like, I want to test that theory out. That's kind of the reason for doing the procedural music.
Yeah, every time you do a jump.
If it works, great. If it doesn't work, try something else. What's that?
Every time you do a jump, you have like some bass hit or something, and it weaves it into everything else that it's doing. That could be awesome.
Yeah. Yep. That's the thought. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
My music scrambling is so sad. Like, I tried GarageBand. I got on my DS. I got like the Korg came out with the DS game, right? So you could make like a Korg synthesizer. You could try to construct music. So I'm like, maybe that'll solve my problem. And it was just so bad. Like I had no reason to do it. I couldn't.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, like real synthesizers. So I just got like an actual MIDI keyboard, and like a MIDI instrument, and that, oh my God, it's so hard. Like there's so much to it. It's so complicated. Like I have like my experience before was GarageBand, and I was like, oh, I can totally do this, but I didn't know anything about actually making like MIDI samples or like how MIDI instruments actually worked. And like now that I'm actually starting to dig into that, oh my God, like anyone who produces digital like MIDI based music it's unreal. Like it's just incredible the amount of like artistry and talent and like scientific thought that goes into it. You know what I mean? Like balancing the reverb and all these different types of effects to produce certain things and make things sound a certain way, and then putting that together, and then like harmony and all that kind of stuff. It's just incredible. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
So
we've got a Fat Bard here in St. Louis, right? And every time I hear their stuff, it's just so friggin' amazing. And I'm just like, this is so good. And I can't even begin to take the first step to do it. Like we talked about earlier, right? Like getting anything done is just finding that first step and then just taking that first step. And then, I'll figure out step 2 later on. And with music, man, I can't even find step 1. Like I really need baby's first Korg synthesizer with like 3 sounds that I can stitch together. And then slowly give me 4, then give me 5. Like I need to ease into this. But that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, so I guess this, like, kind of going back to Last Stitch Goodnight, what would you say is the biggest or the most challenging thing that you have, like, overcome or that you figured out how to do working on the game?
I guess part of it is probably trying to get the combat to feel fresh over the course of the entire game. I think it's super easy to fall into a pattern with combat where like you play the game for like 10 minutes and then you kind of sit back and like, I kind of get it. I kind of get what the next, 7 hours is going to feel like because it's going to be this over and over and over. So I think one of it is finding a way to make that combat stay fresh as it keeps going, keep introducing new things to the combat so it keeps changing up to keep people engaged. But then also with the enemies, I've got a ton of enemies, and at some point you're like, well, what makes this enemy unique? How is he different than number 13? How is 27 going to stand out? And, finding a way to make 27 have this unique new attack and, new verbs he's doing or new action he can do to kind of make the player change up their gameplay style. I think that's probably the hardest part of it is keep finding those new things to do.
And I guess along with finding the new things to do, like how do you balance finding something new or keeping things fresh with like them ending up being too difficult or something like what is the boundary, I guess, between making something fresh and different and making something so different that it's frustrating to the player?
I kind of have a general rule of thumb when I'm making a video game that like I want to have easy, medium, and hard, right? And I want to make the game feel good to me. And then by default, that in my head is like, oh, that's medium difficulty. And then I just have to scrap that idea and say, listen, if it feels good to me, I've been playing the game for 5 years, so I've gotten pretty decent at it. If it feels good to me, that's hard. So then now we're going to have to scale it back for medium and easy so that people can kind of enjoy it. And I think it's play testing a lot to get a feel for where people get frustrated. And then also just, take a hard look at what the enemies are doing and making sure they're not cheating. And I think, when you go into any scene or any interaction and say, like, does it feel like this guy has an unfair advantage? Does the AI cheat? And, if you find that out, then you need to readdress it. And a lot of that's like one of my characters can shoot a gun, right? And one of the big takeaways from that was he was just kind of going bop, bop, bop. And when you came up to him and like that wasn't fair, you couldn't react to bop, bop, bop. You would just get shot in the face bop, bop, bop times. So when you take a look at it and you see people get frustrated with it, you're like, oh, well, maybe he needs to take a shot and then he needs to slow down for a bit and then take another shot. And, maybe he needs to have a better tell so that when he's going to take a shot. Once you start like breaking it up and saying, when does it stop being cheap? And then when can a person, be able to predict what they're going to do? And once you have that figured out, then it starts being a little bit more fun because you're reading the game as opposed to getting shot in the face 3 times. Which isn't fun, just as a rule. 0.
Yeah.
0 is the number of times you want to get shot in the face if you have that choice.
Yes. I mean, that carries over to real life as well. I mean, you know what I mean? Both. That's
you're getting
a
shot in the
universal
face.
truth.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I like to think of my games as edutainment, really. It's really pushing the education side.
They're fun, but also practical.
Yeah, if you run into a mad scientist, I think this game is going to be very important for you to have played.
Yeah, I mean, tell you what to do, how to deal with it, where the escapes are,
What to do with lead pipes.
I mean, really, you're doing a public service, if you think about it.
Really? Actually. I do this for the people. Yeah, I don't do this for me. No. This is...
Oh, that's awesome. So, like, speaking of getting the game in front of people, like, how have you done that? Kind of what tools have you used to get the game out there?
Pixel Pop here in St. Louis is fantastic. So if anyone listening to this is in St. Louis, come to Pixel Pop. We will hang out and high five. But yeah, I mean, just finding those different conventions, finding friends that you can sucker into playing it, putting it out there. I don't want to say exposing yourself, but it's somewhere in that realm of words. But yeah, just like not feeling embarrassed. Embarrassed isn't quite the right word either, but not feeling so reserved that you're going to hide it under a blanket. You're going to get out there. People are going to have ideas about it. They're going to give you good feedback, and just keep putting it out there and keep, inviting new people to give you that first look. The hardest part, I think, is, every time someone sees your game, they can only see it the first time once. And so after that, they're going to come in with preconceived notions. They're going to come in with that with history. But so you have to keep exposing it to new people, so that way you can get an understanding of what it looks like the first time someone plays it. Even like the way my character jumps changed maybe a year ago. Like, it just had a different arc to it, had a different feel to it. And everyone who played it before, they're like, oh, it's better. But that doesn't really help. You have to get in front of someone for the first time for them to actually say, oh, I feel like I can more accurately get on this ledge than I might have otherwise. So it's rough, but it's fun.
So I guess, like, what are there any? So you mentioned friends, you mentioned conventions. Like, are there any other like people pools that I guess people working on a game could pull from, or like, do you have anything with? So you're on Steam Greenlight. Thoughts on things like itch.io or any other kind of distribution medium, like what those might be good for, maybe even what they might not be good for, or like why you chose Steam Greenlight over going to something like itch.io?
itch.io is fantastic. So yeah, that's actually the first thing I've been using to kind of distribute a couple builds to some friends to get some feedback from them. Because itch.io is just so easy to set up, and it's just, you're done in like 5 seconds, getting everything uploaded, and it's distributable, and you can track it to see who's cashed in a key and who hasn't. It's a really nice service. Greenlight, I think the exposure is better, so that's probably why I wanted to make sure I was on Steam as well. I wanted to make sure I had a friendly way to share keys for it. And I think, Steam has just gotten to the point now that it's just people's de facto PC gaming library. So it was kind of important for me to kind of be in that, just for ease of use for people to play it.
That's cool. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So, what was it? Early access. So do you have any thoughts on Steam Early Access? Like, do you plan on doing that as well? Or do you plan on, like, just releasing the full version of the game after Greenlight?
I'll probably, I might do a little bit of early access, but it's going to be way late in the dev cycle. I think when you give the game to play to friends, or people kind of, it can be internet friends, it could be real world friends, whatever. I think the quality of feedback you get is going to be a little bit different because they know you. They can kind of tell you what parts frustrated them a little bit easier. I think with early access, I think it can be super powerful, especially if you want to test all the different machines out there to see, does this game play solid on all the different builds possible. I think that can be super useful, but I kind of like the human touch of, seeing someone play it or getting feedback on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I could also see, like, general internet culture, right? Like, people don't tend to be as respectful across the internet as detailed and thorough as people sitting right in front of you. You know what I mean? And like you said, you can see them, right? Like, what's their facial expression? What's their body language like? How are they using the keyboard? Things like that. All the little things that they may not even think to tell you, right?
Yeah. Like, Phil played it a while back, and his big feedback was like, yeah, the controls really weren't that transparent. And like, I've been using the controls for so long, like it's just, muscle memory at this point. I'm like, oh yeah, my control scheme is kind of built on my gamepad. I need to make that a little bit more generic. So that was, fantastic feedback to get. Whereas, if I didn't know him, one of two things would happen. He'd be like, oh, it's okay. Or, the alternative might be nothing. And I think that's from indie development. That's getting negative feedback or getting bad news is terrible, but getting nothing is way worse, because you're like, did they play it? I have no idea. Like, there's no way to even track that. So that makes it rougher.
So I guess switching gears just a little bit, talking about St. Louis, like game development in St. Louis. So like,
we have such a good scene here. Oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah, go with that. Go with that. Like, well, like what do you like about the scene? What's your involvement been? All that kind of stuff.
Anytime you're doing anything of this big, trying to find like-minded people who can share it with you, is fantastic. It's huge, right? Especially if you're working on a game, right? It's you, it's maybe, you by yourself, maybe it's you and 3 people, and it's so easy just to have your own little vacuum that you're working in, that you don't really get any fresh ideas coming in. You're just kind of doing the same thing every day. But when you start finding like-minded group of individuals who can kind of share notes and be like, oh, I did this thing today, and they're like, oh, that looks awesome. Have you considered doing this other thing? It helps you out a lot. It helps keep you going. And I think the St. Louis Game Dev Co-op is fantastic in that regards, that we've got a lot of people who are just super excited about making video games, who are super excited about wanting to talk about making video games. It's one thing to talk about video games, but it's another thing entirely to talk about making video games, just because it's just completely different how you're approaching it, how you stay focused, how you stay motivated. It's a different set of problems. And it's a great group of folks who just keep pushing each other forward, keep pushing each other to be better.
Yeah, I totally agree. How long have you been involved with the Game Dev Co-op?
Probably about 2 years. I guess it officially kind of ramped up a little bit over a year ago. And then before that, we had kind of another group going on. But yeah, no, it's I'd probably say about 2 years.
Very nice. So how did you get into it? Like, what was it a drink up that you first went to, or one of the meetups at Riot, or like how did you first get into it?
Yeah, it was one of the drink ups was the first thing I kind of did. Actually, that's not true. I guess years before, when I was promoting All the Bad Parts, I went to a couple of the meetups, and they're still kind of figuring out what they were doing, what their plan was as a group. And then I kind of fell into my cave working on Last Stitch Goodnight for the first couple years, because it wasn't to the point I could really show it off. But then once I started to kind of get ideas together, I started going to some of the drink ups, and that's where I started meeting more people and starting to get more involved, and things really took off.
Very nice. Very nice. So if you had any, like, if a developer or potential game developer, hopeful game developer, was had one question to ask you, or I'm sorry, the other way around. You had one thing to tell them. They have this game's awesome idea that they want to work on, and they want to start working on it. What is one thing that you would tell them?
I would say prioritize it. Make it, if it's important to you, make it an important part of your day. Not, this thing I want to do, I've got this great idea I want to start on. It's just, prioritize it. If you're at home at night and you're like, I'm going to watch some TV, you got to prioritize game development. And it's sacrifice. Making a game is sacrifice. You're not going to see maybe some friends on the weekend. You're not going to get to watch this new show. You're not going to get to play this new game that just came out. But even though you're sacrificing, I think the rewards you can get out of it are tenfold. Like, even the game, getting it in front of a few people, it's been fun, but, just me making this game has been infinitely rewarding. Like, just seeing the end product, no matter what happens, like, I made this, right? And I can be very excited about that. That
is so awesome. That is absolutely awesome. All right. Well, I think we will let you get back to your weekend and get back to your day and get back to, finishing up the game and working with the community that actually, sorry, one more question. Nope. So finishing
Done.
Greenlight, what is the community like now? Like your Greenlight community, kind of like what are you doing now? What's your next step? Because I would imagine that beyond just developing the game, now that you've got it out there and people have seen it and said, yes, I actually want to pay for this. Yes, I want to play this. Like, there are things beyond just the coding of the game that you've got to think about and to work on. So kind of what are some of those next steps?
I guess the next steps is going to be, keeping the community, the start of a community growing, keep staying focused on that and keep promoting that. I'll say probably the last 2 weeks, I haven't got as much done on the game itself as I wanted to, because I'm just building more promotional materials and keep that growing. And it's weird when you think of it in those terms of, at one part, I started this to make a video game, and I haven't gotten to make a video game for over a week because I've been working on promotional materials. But it's something that, it starts with, well, I know I need to do it, so I'm just going to do it. But then it grows into, I'm having a lot of fun building like these weird, quirky GIFs that I can post out there. And when you start finding joy in that as well, it just keeps the whole thing moving forward, which is exciting. So keep growing with community involvement, keep posting to, Reddit for screenshot days, keep posting to Imager to share some of the GIFs that I'm making, keep going on Twitter, keep going on the 13 different fronts that you have to maintain to make a video game. But it's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, every time you get like some random note from some random dude who's just like, hey, I just found out about this. It looks super sweet. I'm super excited about it. It's just like, awesome. These people exist out there. And if I hit 10 of them, I'm going to be thrilled.
Oh yeah, that's got to feel so good. Like to know that somebody else is interested in this thing that you've been working on for such a long time, you know, and other people are seeing it and they want it.
Yeah. So
that is so cool.
And again, it raises the stakes immeasurably, but but it's fun. It's thrilling.
Man.
Yeah, I so can't wait to get it out there. And it's, you know, I'm going to do Pixel Pop again this year, so I'm super looking forward to getting in front of new people there, handing out buttons and doing all that kind of good stuff. So I'm having a lot of fun with it.
That's awesome. Oh yeah, and Pixel Pop that's coming up pretty soon. That's going to be in October, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming up. Man, very cool.
And in the Science Center this year, which is amazing, they have a dinosaur. So I'm excited.
Nice. Well, yeah. Once when you get a bit further along, like maybe closer to release, we'd love to have you come back on and see where it's at and see, you know, how you've been doing. That'd be great to follow up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll get Alex in. It'll work out.
Yes.
I'm optimistic.
We'll have him consistently here for the. Oh man, technical difficulties. Gotta love it. Yeah.
I love that he's still on the show technically, and it's the one with the hat. So it just makes it all that much better.
That's the best part. He's like, fuck hats. Hats are stupid. Oh
Screenshot
man.
that can be the photo art for this one.
Oh, okay. You know what? Actually, I'm totally doing that. I'm opening Grab right now, and yes. Oh my god. Here, let's see here. Oh, and yours says, "Hey."
Yeah. Nice. Hold on. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. Okay, there we go. Yep,
hands.
that is actually that is going to be.
Well, it stays. Hey, hey stays up. That's great.
Yeah. It doesn't ever go away.
I feel bad about that now.
Well, and I gotta say, I'm a little bit sad because I like watching the little meter thing, the volume meter thing move, like when people talk, and I can't see that for yours anymore.
How do I unraise my hand?
I have no idea.
There we go. Stop raising your hand. Can you answer hands? Is that an option on your side?
I don't.
Why won't you?
Oh wait, I just clicked on it and it went back to your thing.
Oh,
okay.
Nice. Oh, that's pretty sweet.
So I guess as a host I can do something. Not
you
much.
Have all the power.
I can't mute people, but I can do that.
So I'm kind of curious. You want to get back to your weekend, but I'm curious. So after the slow jam, what's your plans? Are you going to keep putting more time into what you're working on now, or are you going to try something new?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So I'm not going to stop development on the game after the game jam. I'm using Monday as kind of like a first milestone. Like I want to have something that people want to play. As of Monday, and then I'm going to put it up on itch.io for people to like play test and, you know, provide feedback and stuff. But yeah, I'm going to keep working on it.
Oh, give me a link. Kind of like,
what's that?
Give me a link to that itch.io. Yeah, no, I would love to check it out.
Awesome.
Do you have a pitch for it? You haven't had time for a pitch. You've been going.
I don't know if it's a pitch, but like, so the basic idea is just that it's an infinite platformer, right? Mm-hmm. So like think Mario, but you don't ever have to wait in between levels. Like the game just keeps going.
New level every second. Oh, that's a good pitch.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and like what's really cool is that it's so, and I don't even know if it's technically procedural. Like because the thing is, so my understanding of procedural is that like it starts with a seed, right? Like Minecraft type procedural. So it starts with a seed, and then it. What's that?
Nothing. Sorry, keep going.
So it starts with a seed, whatever the seed is, and then but it builds the whole world, and then it's like done, right? And I think Minecraft now, like it does go on forever, but there's like this one thing, and it always builds off of that. Well, the way that Jumpy McRunface works is there's like a set of I
forgot the name. Every time I hear it, I smile. Okay,
awesome. That's exactly what I want to go for. Yes. So like as you're playing.
Is he Scottish?
He's not. So this is actually something. So like designing the character or trying to like think of even the character is actually really tricky because I'm like, the first thing I thought, you know, obviously was like, leprechaun or something. But then I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. That doesn't like, I want to, well, and so part of it, like being that I'm not really artistic, like I appreciate art and beauty and I like artistic things. But when it comes to creating art, I just feel like I'm not good. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, kind of like what we were saying about music. Like I don't know what works. I don't know what doesn't.
Yeah, you got the music gene. I have maybe I have the art gene. I don't know. So.
Well, I would say you have the art gene. Like looking at Last Stitch Goodnight, you absolutely do. Yeah. Oh my God, that game is beautiful, man. Like all of the characters and everything. Hell yeah, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally. But then this is actually a good example. So when I was younger, I used to be really into drawing. Right, not painting so much, but like drawing, like pen and paper, and I loved it. Yeah. But like as soon as I stopped doing it, it just went away. And like
Yeah.
I've tried several times since, like over the last few years to do it again, and I just can't. Like I just can't get back into it. For some reason, it's just gone. And so when it comes to like colors and things like that for the game, or like a general feel, like what do I want the game to look like? I really have absolutely no idea. Like really none at all. Like the best that I can do is learn the mechanics of colors and how they work. And I actually did that. I got a book, I think it was what it called, like Shape and Form, something like that. And it basically was a book about like colors and how they relate to each other and why certain color combinations are attractive. And it provides mathematical calculations to determine if you have one color, what are, palettes that you can build from that.
Yeah. What goes with this? Yeah.
Exactly. So like my thought is, again, procedural thing is one of the things that I want to add to the game later on is like different skins or different themes, right?
Yeah.
So like you can get coins in the game, and my thought is that you get so many coins, you can buy like new characters, you can buy new themes, stuff like that. But they're all just like the themes would be maybe some different textures, but primarily color differences, right?
Yeah.
So like if you want to play like a winter theme, or if you want to have, I couldn't do this, like the not Iron Man theme, right? Then all the game would have was it would have like one color, maybe two that would be like the base colors, and then it would compute all the accent colors from those base colors, and that would then be what the color palette is from. But you can't really do that with like creating a character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
the character's constant.
Yeah, exactly. Like
is
that's just straight up art. And so I'm like, how do I do that?
Hats.
So what's up?
They find new hats as they go.
Well, yeah, and you know what? I mean, that's probably what I'm gonna do. Well, so I bought an asset a couple days ago from the asset store, which actually has these like super cute like chibi style sort of characters. Of course, their controllers are completely different from the one I'm using now, so like actually integrating them and making them work in the game is going to be kind of a challenge. But they're like. They actually kind of were like, when I saw them, I was like, yes, wait, that's what I want the art style for the game to be. Like, I really like these characters, and I want to build like the shader style and the colors and everything around these. Like, I really like the way these look. And it was nice because there's a bunch of characters in this pack too. And I'm like, oh, this kind of gives me, like you get 100 coins, you can buy another character. Like I get that for free. You know what I mean? So that's nice too. So like, again, I won't have that in place obviously by Monday, because I don't even know if I'll have these characters in place by Monday. Monday still, I might have the placeholder character. But that'll be like the next step, right? Like getting like, kind of like what you were saying earlier about Last Stitch Goodnight. Like once the core gameplay is in place, it's adding more content. Right. So like with Jumpy McRunface now, I feel like I have the core gameplay in place, like the running and the jumping works. And even the puzzles that I have now, or like the obstacles that I have now, like they're pretty interesting. You know what I mean? And like there's some logic in there to generate them. And so the core of the game exists. Now it's just, okay, I need to add different obstacle types. I need to add different characters and just kind of add some more variety and stuff like that to it.
Add new flavors. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, like you've got your vanilla milkshake. Now you can start going crazy, and for a while it's going to be this, for a while it's going to be this. That is such a fun part of it when you have that foundation laid, and you're like, okay, I feel like I've gotten the grunt work out of the way. Let's get creative. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, and it's so like, I gotta say, it's so motivating seeing how, like, I legitimately had no idea that there were so many people actually making games in St. Louis. And not just like doing what I've been doing for a while, which is kind of like making a game and then, it never really goes anywhere, which is fine. But like actually putting them out there, and like getting on Steam and doing all these different things. Yeah. And like, at first it was Butterscotch Shenanigans. And I'm like, whoa, that's awesome. There's one. And now I'm seeing like you and Woodsy Studios and
Graphite Labs.
Yes. And like all these people. Bunny Gun, who we interviewed last week, like they do VR stuff. And I'm like, there's so many like teams and people that are actually doing this. You know what I mean? So it's like I've got all these people that I can talk to and learn from, so that when I get stuck and when I don't know what I'm doing, somebody else out there does. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's motivating for me as well too. You know what I mean? Like not feeling like I'm the only person in the room trying to do what I'm doing. It just makes the struggles and the hard things, like when I found out this controller didn't work, right? I'm like, great, I'm going to have to figure out how to do this. Well, if I can't figure it out, somebody else here probably has something to tell me. You know what I mean? Because like there's a lot of other people working on similar stuff. And like the last time meetup that we had for this slow jam, I talked about my game a little bit and mentioned something about like, Unity's update and late update and all that kind of stuff. And somebody came up to me afterwards and they explained to me the difference between fixed update, and last update. I didn't know what the differences between those were.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And that's such a big thing. You know what I mean? Like that made such a big difference. And I was like, see, this is it. Like having people who know their shit and who know what they're doing when I don't. Yeah, that makes a big difference.
And accessible. And I don't know, like I've seen so many development groups that kind of grow and then die because they don't have each other's back, right? Like they're all out for themselves, to the point that like someone else's success would be, a negative because, oh, they got successful at my expense. And, that is just not the case here in the co-op. Everyone has each other's back. Like we know we're not competing against each other at all. We're all just kind of sharing the same load. And it's so exciting just to see all these people work together.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. God, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
And
well, speaking of, exciting. I think I want to get back to working on this game here, so I got something to show on Monday.
That's a good idea.
So are you going to be coming Monday, like Monday evening, to see the demo?
I hope to. I'm still trying to get everything sorted out for it, but no, I hope to. Fingers crossed.
Nice. Well, fingers crossed that I will see you there. And if not, I think we're going to be streaming it too. So even if you can't be there, I don't know. I want to say the co-op has like a Twitch channel.
We do, yeah.
Okay. Well, see, there you go. You know about that and I don't. Yeah. So I know if you can't be there, then you can either stream it or just watch it like once the stream is up on Twitch. So, yeah, I'm super excited. I'm super excited to see what other people... Like, I'm excited to see Tiny Midnight Savages because that game is fucking hilarious. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's so great. So great. And then somebody's working on a... What's that?
I was saying, just what I love about Game Jam, just like all these thousands of different like random ideas that like my brain would have never been able to put together. But it's fueling, right? It's even though that's not your game, but just see what other people are doing fuels your own creativity, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, this has been awesome, dude. This has been so much fun.
Thanks for having me on, man. No, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, totally. So, we will follow up with you whenever it works next for Last Stitch Goodnight. Maybe when you release publicly,
cool.
Whenever it is. Yeah, we'll be in touch and we'll figure out when would be good to have you back. And
hopefully early 2017. That's what I'm aiming for. So,
nice.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed indeed. Cool, man. All right. Well, you have yourself a good weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
You too. Tell Alex I said goodbye.
Oh yeah, he never came back. Well, that's all right. That's all right. He's here in spirit, and the cover art's going to be him in a hat, so he will love that.
Nice. All right, man.
All right, man. See you. So we have finally come to the end of this episode, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoy it. We hope this was a lot of fun. I have no idea what the fuck to say next.
Okay, so we've been doing this for a while because we just have more and more parts because we recorded so much this week, which is why we're getting a bonus episode next time. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. Look for that bonus episode midweek. I am Alex, and you can find me at Senior Dongato on Twitter. And you can also find our Facebook page at Egghead Anarchy on Twitter. That's not our Facebook page. At Egghead Anarchy on Twitter is our Twitter, but also Egghead Anarchy is our Facebook page. That's gone real smooth for a second, and then I dropped it. And Bryan, you're Bryan, and they can find you at
BSG Bryan on Twitter. We also have eggheadanarchy.com, where you can find all of our episodes and listen to all of our episodes there, as well as you can listen to our episodes on SoundCloud. We're listed in iTunes. We're also on Stitcher, and we also are on YouTube.
Oh, and thanks to the people who do our music.
Oh, yes. OCRemix.org.
OC Remix,
I fucking love that place. Yes.
All right.
So
see you guys next
music.
time. Bye.
See you.